Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Meteorologist John Jurgens here now with continuing coverage as we have this broken line of thunderstorms rolling through. This may be the first of two rounds of storms that we'll be monitoring here over the course of the afternoon and evening. So we'll keep this stream ongoing as long as we have active warnings in place across the area. So, of course, we'll keep you updated on those over the course of this afternoon and evening. So right now, the warnings that we have in place across the area, a tornado warning for with this thunderstorm in Greene County, just to the north of Monroe, pretty much right on top of Monticello. That is pushing off to the northeast in the general direction of Belleville in northwestern Rock County. So that is a tornado warning. There's one warning in place until 1:15, so that's about to go off the board. The new warning is in place until 1:45 near Belleville and Evansville in Rock County, or Belleville in Greene County, Evansville in Rock County. That's where we have that tornado warning until 1:45. There's also the severe thunderstorm warning in place across Lee County. This is in place until 2 o'clock. This is essentially for the western half of Lee County. So Dixon, Nelson, Harmon, Amboy, Sublette, Ashton, Franklin Grove. You are under a severe thunderstorm warning until 2 o'clock. We have kind of two segments of this line. The northern segment of the line is the most conducive for tornadic development. For the southern edge of it, that's going to be where we watch for the damaging winds. So focusing on the northern side of this first, with the active tornado warning in southern Wisconsin, we have a pretty strong indication of at least some intense low-level rotation, if not actual tornado development, which is right on top of Monticello in Greene County right now, passing just to the south of New Glarus. And this will pass near Belleville, potentially just to the west and north of Evansville, but it's close enough. In Evansville, you're in that tornado warning polygon, so that's when you have to take your tornado precautions. Whenever you're under that tornado warning, you are under the threat with this thunderstorm to see a potential tornadic development. As I'll put on the velocity scope here, you can see how earlier when we were watching this, when I did the cut in there on channel 13, the rotation seems to be a little more disorganized compared to where it was just about a couple minutes or so ago. I mean, we can back it up, and there you can see how we had a stronger circulation just to the west of Monticello, and now as I'll bring it back forward here to the current time, you can see how it's not necessarily as strong. Still some rotation here, absolutely, but it's not quite as intense as it was. So hopefully we're starting to see the rotation and coming down within this thunderstorm, but nonetheless, if you are in northeastern Greene County, northwestern Rock County, Monticello, towards Albany, Belleville, and Evansville, now is your time to take action ahead of this supercell thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado. As we look farther to the south, again, been watching this Stevenson County storm, one that just went right over Freeport. Looks like the lightning is coming down with this. Haven't seen any warnings with this. So it looks like, I mean, hopefully let's cross our fingers that that storm's starting to kind of pulse down here a little bit as we head over the next few minutes. So we'll watch those radar trends closely. But no warning on that Stevenson County storm. Does look like it's starting to weaken a little bit. Now looking across Lee County, that's where we have that severe thunderstorm warning in place. It does look like the strongest segment of this line is moving right over Dixon at this point. That's where we have tremendous amounts of lightning. That's where we also have very heavy rainfall, and also potentially with this warning has the threat of 1-inch hail, so quarter-size hail, as well as wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. So that is enough to take down tree branches and potentially take down some power poles as well. So you need to be prepared for that. You want to get inside, get away from the windows, and let the storm pass by if you are in Dixon, and then further off to the northeast towards Franklin Grove and Ashton here. So I'll put the radar on a loop here, and it's a little quick. Let me slow it down just so that we can see kind of the movement of this thunderstorm here. So it looks like it's kind of two cells that came together pretty much right over Sterling and is now kind of blown up into this line of storm. So we'll watch out for this very carefully. Looks like it's almost traveling right along I-88 at this point. So with it moving at about 35 miles per hour, I'll kind of put a tracker on it, kind of just following the I-88 corridor, and I'll extend it all the way over to DeKalb, because this is the kind of environment that you can tell as soon as you step outside. It is hot and it is humid, so this is the kind of environment that you would see potential sustained thunderstorms. So we got to watch out for this to last along the I-88 corridor. So this would be getting close to Grand Detour pretty much right now, if not in the next few minutes, at least the strongest part of these thunderstorms. Amboy, it looks like the worst of it is passing just to your north, but still could be seeing some pretty strong winds and heavy rain coming through at about 123. Ashton, kind of right in the heart of it there along I-88 and Route 38 near Ashton at about 130, so I would estimate Franklin Grove probably about 120 to 125. Rochelle towards 145, Creston 155, Malta 205, DeKalb 215, Sycamore 220. So that would be the approximate arrival times for the strongest segment of this line that is now pushing through northern Lee County. If we have any reports from Lee County, of course, we'll make sure to share them with you, but it looks like the worst of it is on top of Dixon right now. We can put on the hail tracker. It may take a little bit for it to load up here. It's got to generate a bunch of information here, so it may look blank for a second, and then we'll see the info pop up. But just to get an indication, there we go, of the kind of size of hail that we may be looking for here. So far, radar estimating almost about quarter-size hail just to the north of Harmon here. So we'll watch that trend closely as we continue to watch this thunderstorm as it rolls through. Other thing I want to look at is the watches that we have in place across the area. So we had a tornado watch that was issued a little after noon for all of southern Wisconsin. That tornado watch is in place until 6 o'clock. And then for northern Illinois, it is a severe thunderstorm watch. Now, don't read too much into, hey, tornado watch in southern Wisconsin, severe thunderstorm watch in northern Illinois. There is a tornado threat across northern Illinois, but the threat is highest near and north of the Wisconsin state line, like where we have the active tornado warning across Greene and Rock counties. It does look like the highest tornado threat is near just north of the state line, but there is albeit low, there is still a tornado threat across northern Illinois here with these storms as they roll through now, and then potentially seeing another wave as we head later this afternoon. So let me show you on radar just kind of what I'm talking about here. So I'll kind of zoom out here once this radar here, the radar scene loads up. So we have this leading edge of this line that is now pushing through kind of the heart of our viewing area right now, essentially from just east of Monroe right down to Dixon. So that's where we have this line right now. Still very spotty in between. No warnings with this activity, but we'll watch it closely. But what I'm watching out for is you see these other cells that are pulsing up near Platteville. That's going to be what I watch out for to see a potential renewed round of thunderstorms. So we'll see what kind of environment is left behind these storms that we may see some new storms begin to develop behind it. This would be kind of what we were watching out for, the main risk of severe weather. The initial line of storms that's rolling through now kind of pulsed up and then kind of just took advantage of this environment as it was setting up this morning. So it came through, it's just started to kick up a little bit early, and it kind of just took advantage of it before the main kind of source for the thunderstorm development today could actually make it through. So it's a little bit earlier than we may have anticipated, but that's why, I was talking about it yesterday. If you were watching our evening shows, I was talking about how we kind of have a wide range here in terms of the timing, because we just have to see how this low pressure that's moving across southern Wisconsin kind of interacts with this environment. Could it trigger some thunderstorms a little bit earlier, or will it take some time? Well, looks like it started to kick up these thunderstorms just a little bit earlier here. So that's kind of the scenario that we're at right now. So we have this active line of storms moving through now, and then watching this activity back across southwestern Wisconsin, and especially if any more storms can develop further south along the Mississippi River as of right now. As that continues to push off to the east, do we see some more thunderstorms developing? That's kind of the long term, if I can call a few hours long term. That's going to be what we look out for here over the rest of this afternoon and into the early evening hours. Now, kind of doing a reset here. So again, covering this active tornado warning across northwestern Greene County. It looks like the worst of the storm has passed by downtown Monticello and is to the east of New Glarus here. So Monticello right here, and this is New Glarus up here, right on the northern edge of the tornado warning polygon. It looks like there, as we get a new radar scan, it's right where we see that little hook on the thunderstorm here on radar. That's going to be where we watch out for a potential tornado to develop. Maybe also seeing another one of these trying to spin up just to the west of Albany. We'll watch that closely to see if there can be any rotation can get going with that cell. Velocity picture, again, not nearly as strong as it looked earlier, so that's good news. There is still some healthy rotation with that thunderstorm. Absolutely, the threat remains of a tornado across northeastern Greene County, but the rotation on this cell seems to be coming down a little bit, and maybe just trying to see some rotation, trying to get going. You see the greens going inbound, kind of the weaker colors there going away from the radar, so we may be seeing some rotation trying to get going just to the west of Albany. So still, if you are in Albany, you should be taking shelter right now. An active tornado warning is in place until 1:45. These two cells will be rolling towards, so this northern cell up here is going to be pushing mainly into Dane County, into areas to the south and east of Madison. This other cell that's trying to get going here to the west of Albany, that would be moving pretty close to Evansville, maybe areas just to the west and north of Evansville. So across this tornado warning polygon, north and east of Monticello, remain in your tornado shelter, in your basement or in your first floor, kind of a closet, a bathroom, just getting inside, getting away from the windows. That's your best place to be whenever a tornado warning is issued for your area. So that's the active tornado warning we have across Greene County. We have now, and I'm not even seeing any lightning with these at this point, so just some pretty heavy rain showers across northeastern Stevenson County, approaching Rock City at this point, getting close to Lake Somerset, and eventually towards Durand. And then this cell that's bubbling up here, approaching Pecatonica, just to the west and north of Winnebago. Again, no lightning with this as of yet. Maybe seeing another one just trying to get going south of Seward, or just about right on top of Seward, actually, maybe just to the west. So again, no lightning with that and no warnings, obviously, with that, but we'll watch those closely as they are getting into this favorable environment now. Like these thunderstorms, like this line of thunderstorms is kind of taking advantage of this environment right over Lee County. So the leading edge of this cell now pushing out of Dixon, and you can see the National Weather Service kind of updating the warning here. They kind of trim away at the back edge of the warning. So like Nelson and Harmon are kind of outside of the warning now because the line of storms is continuing to push off to the east. So that's why the National Weather Service issues those updates. They just try to trim away the areas that were under the warning, that were under the storms, but are no longer under the storms and no longer seeing a severe threat. So that's why you saw that warning there flash a little bit there. That's just the update to trim away the western part of the warning. We're continuing to watch the leading edge of this mainly that's approaching Franklin Grove right now, to see if we have mainly strong winds, I would suspect. I'm not anticipating a big hail risk today. It would mainly be for, especially in this specific case, potentially seeing a kind of microburst situations across northern Lee County at this point. As I look at our National Weather Service chat session here, potentially seeing a wind surge just to the east of Lee County at this point. It would be, yeah, kind of right on I-88 at this point. So let me put the velocity scope on. Usually we use velocity to look at rotation, but we can also look at it for just straight up wind, and that's kind of what we're seeing across. There we go. That's a kind of a better advantage point there for looking at this storm. And yeah, absolutely, Franklin Grove getting into some very strong winds at this point. So Franklin Grove, make sure you're taking your severe weather precautions right now, getting inside, getting away from the windows. Ashton, you've got about 5 to 10 minutes before this little wind surge reaches you. We could be seeing winds of potentially upwards of 60 miles per hour in here along the leading edge of this line here. So as it pushes into Franklin Grove, we really got to take this seriously. And then potentially even further north into Ogle County, where we'll be watching out for kind of the leading edge of the cell, kind of pushing just to the east of Grand Detour and Lost Nation. But we may be seeing that wind surge pushing into far southern Ogle County, kind of along the Route 38 corridor, the Lincoln Highway. And eventually this will be getting close to Rochelle here in the matter of about 20 to 25 minutes. Further south, not quite seeing as much activity. It looks like there's some more storms over Princeton right now in Bureau County. That would be potentially on a line to get close to Mendota and then eventually maybe close to Paw Paw and further into southern DeKalb County. That's where we have kind of what we watch for here is especially where we see the most lightning. And we're kind of seeing with this segment of the line, seeing the most lightning with the storms right over Dixon at this point, and then with the storms kind of right over and just pushing to the east of Princeton right now. So that'll be, so these Princeton storms, I'll be watching to push close to Paw Paw and far southeastern Lee County into southern DeKalb County. But the active severe weather threat right now in Lee County is now pushing into Franklin Grove and Ashton. So Franklin Grove kind of in the worst of it right now. Ashton, you've got about maybe 5 minutes here before the worst of the storm reaches you, where we have that kind of wind signature here that we were watching out for just a little bit earlier. We can pull up the velocity tool, and I can just pull it up just across the whole radar here, and you can see how, here, and I'll kind of highlight it here, how we have that Boeing signature. That's the concerning thing that we watch out for, is that we are getting some pretty strong winds, at least evidence of very strong winds moving through Franklin Grove right now, and that'll be pushing towards Ashton here. So that's kind of what we're seeing, is that kind of wave, that kind of gust front pushing into Ashton right now. So if you're in Ashton, you want to move inside, get away from those windows. You have an active severe thunderstorm warning until the top of the hour at 2 o'clock. Now, I'd look to see if maybe the National Weather Service will extend the warning further to the north and east, potentially getting parts of Ogle County involved here. We may get an update from them here in just a little bit, but as the storm continues to push off to the north and east, again, we'll put a kind of tracker on this, pushing to the northeast, and I'll try to get to DeKalb. Okay, we did get DeKalb in there. So towards Ashton, pretty much bearing down on you right now. Flag Center, just to the north of Rochelle, so about 140, 145 for the Rochelle area and towards Hillcrest. Stewart at about 150, Creston 155, towards Malta at 2 o'clock, so right near Kishwaukee College and Malta, right at the top of the hour. And then towards DeKalb at about 2:10 to 2:15. That's the latest timing on the severe thunderstorms across Lee County as of this point. Further off to the north, again, just kind of watching these cells closely in Stevenson and Winnebago counties, because what these storms can do is they can exhibit a little bit of rotation, but as you can see here, no warnings for Stevenson or Winnebago County. We have 2 active warnings across our area at this point, so we'll kind of do a reset here at 126. We have a tornado warning for northeastern Greene, northwestern Rock until 1:45, and a severe thunderstorm warning for Lee County, including Dixon, Franklin, and Ashton, Franklin Grove and Ashton until 2 o'clock. So pretty much the thunderstorms right on top of Franklin Grove now, pushing into Ashton in the next 5 minutes, and then that's that tornado warning storm in northeastern Greene. Again, talking about these Stevenson and Winnebago storms, we do not have any warnings on these, but these are kind of getting into an environment where it's a little favorable for, at the very least, rotation, if not tornadic development. We can take a look at the velocity tools and not seeing, truly obvious and indications of any kind of tornadic activity, but it's in that environment. It's near and north of the Wisconsin state line where we see that highest tornado threat, and it's kind of moving right into that environment. So we got to watch these storms carefully. And then again, looking for the threat over the next few hours, still have not seen any new development off to the west. And then there we go. So now we got a new severe thunderstorm warning. So this will be for the Rochelle area, as well as for southeastern Ogle, northeastern Lee, and into western DeKalb County. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to step off for just a little bit. We're going to do a quick cut in on channel 13 here, probably right at the bottom of the hour here at 1:30, just so that we can get kind of the good timing here in terms of to cut in on air. But for right now, while we're here on the live stream here, let's kind of go through the new warning here. So this is a new severe thunderstorm warning until 2:30. This will be for southeastern Ogle County. So we'll focus on Ogle County here first. This will be for Rochelle, Hillcrest, Creston, Kings, just to the south of Lindenwood. This does include Chena, as well as Flag Center. For Lee County, this will include areas near and north of US 30, so Scarborough, Alto, Stewart, under a severe thunderstorm warning until 2:30 now. And then western DeKalb County, essentially areas near and north of US 30 and to the west of Route 23 in DeKalb County. So areas as far north as Kirkland and Fairdale, and then down towards Malta, and then along US 30 towards Shabana. You're now under a severe thunderstorm warning until 2:30. That's what that line that we're watching pushing into Ashton right now, that does have some, appears to have some pretty strong winds associated with it. So what we're going to do right now, right at the top of the hour here at 1:30, we're going to kind of pause here. We'll fade to black here, and then we'll do a quick cut in here on channel 13 to let our viewers know, especially in the Rochelle area, that we have some pretty strong winds coming with this thunderstorm that's rolling right along the I-88 corridor here. So we'll pause for just a second, and we'll update our viewers on the air, and then we'll be right back here with continuing coverage right afterwards. This is Meteorologist John Jurgens here with a quick update on our severe weather situation across northern Illinois. We now have a new severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Ogle, northeastern Lee, and western DeKalb counties. This does include the city of Rochelle, and this warning is in place until 2:30. We have a line of thunderstorms pushing into Ashton right now. It's kind of moving along the I-88 and Route 38 corridors right now. And this is potentially packing 60-mile-per-hour winds, which is capable of tree damage and power line damage. So as we take a look at the radar across the warning area at this point, we're continuing to see kind of where you see that Boeing signature. That's where you start to see the concern here for some very strong winds that are right on top of Ashton right now. This will be pushing towards Rochelle and Creston here over the next few minutes. So when I expand the radar out, and then we'll put a track on this. This is moving to the east, to a little bit north of east at about 40 miles per hour. So kind of taking it to the eastern edge of DeKalb County. This will be on top of Rochelle at about 140, Creston at 150, Malta close to the top of the hour at 157, DeKalb and the campus of NIU at 205, Sycamore at 211. So that's the active severe thunderstorm warning that we have, with the potential for 60-mile-per-hour winds rolling right over the I-88 corridor at this point. So under this severe thunderstorm warning, this is where you get inside, get away from the windows as we see the strong winds. We could see tree damage, could damage your windows, as well as the potential for power outages ahead of this line of thunderstorms here. One last check of the tornado warned storm across Greene and Rock counties. We've seen that rotation continuing to weaken, so we may see that tornado warning dropped here, but if you're near Evansville and northwestern Rock County, continue to take shelter. We will have continuing coverage here ongoing on WREX.com, the 13 News app, as well as our YouTube page. We also have links to the live stream on our Facebook and X pages, so make sure to join us there for continuing coverage. But for now, we'll send Channel 13 back to regular programming. All right, so now we'll continue to do our live stream coverage. Oh, here we go. All right, now we're back on. Okay, sorry about that. So we'll continue our coverage right here, so we'll just keep things right here, and then we may kind of go back and forth here as we need to update our on-air viewers with kind of the latest warnings as they come out. But as we continue our coverage right now on WREX.com, we continue to have our active tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings. So one more look at this tornado warning here. It's until 1:45, so for the next about 10 minutes. But again, and even as I look at it on reflectivity, on kind of the standard look at radar, it's just starting to look a little more disorganized. This cell that had some pretty intense rotation with it earlier, and the velocity picture is kind of just a mess at this point. So not quite seeing a tornado threat across Greene and Rock counties. I'll kind of get the latest info from the National Weather Service. They're kind of seeing the same thing, that kind of seeing the rotation coming down with this storm across Greene and Rock counties. But again, there is a tornado warning here until 1:45. So just for the next 10 minutes, if you're in Evansville, just stay in your tornado shelter. And I know Evansville, we have I say a long history, but especially in the last couple of years with tornadoes. So just stay in your tornado shelter here for the next about 10 minutes. We'll let this warning go by, but that threat appears to be coming down as it moves to the north and east of you. If you're in Monticello, and really if you're in Albany and Belleville, we'll kind of give you the all clear from this cell. We're watching out for more storms to develop to the west, and starting to see that just a little bit, mainly across Wisconsin. How we were talking about earlier, if you were with us here over the last few minutes, I was talking about how this line of storms right here kind of just popped up and took advantage of the environment as it developed this morning, and we're getting a bit of a break back here. But now we're going to be watching to see if more storms try to develop, and even starting to see, well, one little cell trying to get going near Lena. But so far that activity has been holding across southwestern Wisconsin, but we'll see if any storms can fire up along into northwestern Illinois. We're continuing to watch these cells. There's now starting to kick up some lightning into northwestern Winnebago County, one right on top of Lake Somerset up here, and another one that's just to the north of Winnebago, right here. I would wonder if we have our roof camera, if maybe we can pull that up and turn it to the north. We'll see if we can. But just starting to see some lightning with this. No other indications of severe weather. We'll take a look at the velocity. No truly obvious signs of rotation. Maybe some with that Lake Somerset, but again, it's very early and really just kind of a very weak rotation at that point, and that's what you would expect with a cell that's really just starting to get developing here. So no real obvious of tornadic development across Winnebago County with these cells, but something that we'll keep an eye on here over the next few minutes. Really the most widespread severe threat at this point is across northeastern Lee, southeastern Ogle, and then eventually into western DeKalb counties. That's where we have that active tornado or severe thunderstorm warning, I should say, until 2:30 for 60-mile-per-hour winds that are now pushing out of Ashton at this point and bearing down on Rochelle right now. So you've got the Route 251 corridor right here. You've got I-39 here. Route 64 is up here. Route 38 is up here, the Lincoln Highway. US 30 is down here, so it's kind of sandwiched kind of perfectly between Route 64 and US 30, where we have this kind of Boeing signature on radar that is indicative of 60-plus mile-per-hour winds. And we'll put the velocity scope on, and that's where you see those bright colors. Kind of, we look at velocity for the rotation like we were across Wisconsin, but we also look at it when we watch for the very strong winds. And this is textbook for a pretty strong wind event pushing out of Ashton now, pushing towards Rochelle. So if you're in Rochelle, if you're in Stewart in northeastern Lee County, now is your time to get inside, get away from the windows as we watch for potential tree damage and also potential power outages with this activity as well. So southeastern Ogle, northeastern Lee, and then eventually western DeKalb County. That's where we're watching out for potential 60-mile-per-hour winds, potentially even higher than that when you see a signature like that on radar. There you're getting the new radar scan and starting to see some more lightning fill in along the southern edge of this line, south of US 30. Let me put the velocity scope back on, and not really quite seeing much in terms of a strong wind signature here. Maybe seeing some rotation trying to develop right on US 30, just to the east of Amboy, just to the east of Lee Center, which is right around where the Lee County Fairgrounds are. Maybe starting to see some rotation trying to develop, but that's very early at this point. But again, something we'll keep an eye on closely as we do have that environment in place, like I mentioned, across the area today. Further storms to the south across Bureau County, that's knocking on the door of LaSalle County now in Mendota. These storms pushing between Princeton and Mendota now may just graze by Paw Paw in southeastern Lee County and then pushing into southern DeKalb County, but I think the vast majority of it will be staying to the south of US 34 over the next hour or so. But that would be a deal for far southern DeKalb County. So really just watching this Boeing line of storms pushing into Rochelle right now, as well as places like Kings along Route 64, just to the south of Lindenwood along 250 or near 251. And then also Creston. If you're in Creston, if you're in Seward, you're also kind of under the gun here, right in the line of this line of thunderstorms here, that we're watching out for some very strong winds here. So as I kind of put a track on this, as we get that brand new radar scan, pushing this off to the east at about 40 miles per hour takes it to Creston at about 147. Similar timing there for Stewart. Kishwaukee College at about 153, Malta 155, DeKalb about 204, Sycamore 209 would be the approximate arrival times here as we get the new radar scans here. That's when we can get that info to you as to when we expect this kind of leading edge, where we would expect the strongest of the winds to be pushing through. So kind of crossing the I-39 corridor here in the next 5 minutes or so, right over Rochelle, right over the I-88 interchange, right over the Route 38 exits, the Route 64 exit, and then pushing further south into Lee County. Looking further to the north across Rock County, and I just want to give a quick update on this. So the National Weather Service is not going to issue a new tornado warning for that cell. The storm has really, in their words, really weakened here over the last about 10 minutes or so, and that's kind of the trend that we've been watching here over the last few. So it looks like some good news there. No further warning for Greene and Rock counties, and looks like that warning will be set to expire here at 1:45. So the only active warning that we'll have here is for southeastern Ogle, northeastern Lee, and western DeKalb counties with the line of thunderstorms that we were just watching now pushing into Rochelle. The other cells that we're watching are just to the north of Durand, just to the north of Lake Somerset, now pushing into Rock County. And then this weaker cell that's off to the south of it, that will be moving towards South Beloit, Rockton, potentially into Roscoe as well, maybe seeing some heavy rain. Haven't even seen any lightning with this recently, seeing some lightning strikes with this northern cell. Again, just taking a look at the velocity picture just to keep an eye on these. That's kind of what you got to do in these situations. You got to kind of babysit these thunderstorms. Again, not really seeing much in terms of any either strong wind or rotation indication across these two cells in northern Winnebago County. But again, like I mentioned, you just got to kind of babysit them. You got to watch them closely here, especially in such a ripe environment like we have right now across really the whole area. I mean, just take one step outside and it feels like it's going to rain, and that's absolutely the case where we have the heat and it's really the humidity that we're watching out here for. So actually what I can do, let's pull up the current dew point. Let's just take a look at the dew points right now across the area, and then you can, get your gauge here as to just how humid it is outside. And right now, we got dew points in the low to mid 70s across really much, essentially the entire area. I mean, 76 right now is the most, well, actually I take that back. 76 in Stockton, 78 right now looks like the worst dew point. I don't feel too bad calling it the worst dew point across the area at this point. 78 for a dew point. That is stifling, and it's barely even corn sweat season yet. So this is a very ripe environment here for strong to severe thunderstorms to develop, and that's exactly what we're seeing across northern Illinois. So taking a look again at the active warnings here. So as of 1:45 here, we'll do this quick reset here. At 1:45, that tornado warning for Greene and Rock counties has been allowed to expire. No tornado warning for Greene and Rock County. The only warnings that we have are severe thunderstorm warnings for southeastern Ogle, northeastern Lee, and western DeKalb counties. We'll take a look at the watches across the area. As of right now, tornado watch remains in place for southern Wisconsin, Greene, Rock, and Walworth County until 6, and the severe thunderstorm watch. And it looks like Stevenson, Carroll, Whiteside counties have been taken out of the severe thunderstorm watch. So that's some good news. The National Weather Service now taking Stevenson County out of the watch. That they believe that, especially across northwestern Illinois, that these storms have kind of just used up the environment at this point. It's kind of taken up all the instability. We'll see if we can see some more scattered thunderstorms to develop, but it does, and as I look at it a little more closely here, as we see over, as we were watching over the last hour to see whether there would be more storms developing across northwestern Illinois. Haven't quite seen that yet, or especially any that would be, of severe strength. So that would be some good news, is that the storm can kind of, that this band of storms that pulsed up kind of took it a little bit early. So the environment hadn't really gotten to its full extent yet, but these storms just kind of took advantage of what was there and is kind of eating up the instability that we have across the area right now. Still maybe seeing just a few showers, no lightning with any of the spotty activity that's developing across southwestern Wisconsin, just trying to get going across northwestern Illinois. No lightning with it. So that's good news, is that maybe these, cross our fingers, hopefully these storms just kind of just took a nice little bite out of the atmosphere that we had for severe weather today, and hopefully can keep these other cells kind of at bay and can just calm them down here, that we don't see as big of a severe weather threat. But nonetheless, we'll continue to watch this closely. The Boeing line of storms now pushing through Rochelle, knocking on the door of Creston at this point. We'll take a look at velocity once again, and yeah, you've got some pretty strong winds now pushing into Rochelle at this point. And when you see these kind of pinks here, that's not indicative of rotation. When we talk about, when we see the greens and reds coming together, that's not what we're seeing here. What this actually is that the radar is trying to calibrate how strong the winds are within these storms. So that's just kind of an indication that we are seeing some very strong winds now pushing into Rochelle. We can take a look at the velocity here of about 51 miles per hour. Don't take that gate-to-gate shear number to the bank. I'm not seeing 100-mile-an-hour winds. Just don't worry about it. But seeing potentially velocities of 50-plus miles per hour right in the heart of this line that is now pushing through Rochelle. So if we see any damage, it may be kind of along the I-88 corridor here from Dixon to Rochelle, kind of right in this zone here where we're seeing some pretty strong winds now pushing into Rochelle, and this line will continue to push off to the east, a little bit north of east. So we'll put a track on it here, pushing at about 40 miles per hour or so. It's really starting to bow out, so maybe even could be moving faster than that, but I'll just kind of take it right up to the edge of DeKalb County here. So towards Creston, right on top of you right now. Esmond, right on the northern edge of it, pushing towards 155. Malta at about 2 o'clock. Sycamore at 2:12. Genoa 2:15. Genoa, again, kind of on the northern edge of where we're watching that a leading edge of storms. This may be more of a Sycamore thing in terms of the highest severe threat with this leading edge of the storms as of this point. But this will be now pushing into western and kind of central DeKalb County, likely areas just to the north of I-88 in terms of where we're watching out for the zone of the highest threat for severe weather with this line. Maybe just starting to push to the north of I-88 at this point. So if you're in DeKalb County, north of I-88, watch out for these thunderstorms as they roll through. And actually, I wonder if we pulled up the DeKalb Skycam, which we have from the NIU Meteorology Department. So that's looking off to the northeast. We'll kind of take a look off to the west, and there you go. So there's the shelf cloud now that's pushing into DeKalb County ahead of these storms. So where we're looking now, this is the campus of Northern Illinois University. This camera is on top of the Home Student Center, that big, huge, giant tower that's on the campus, not the cereal box building, but the actual student center on the campus of NIU. This is looking off to the west. So if you're kind of familiar with the campus of NIU, you've got the field house that's sitting right here. You've got the football stadium over here, and you've got Grant and Stevenson Towers kind of back here. And this right here is the shelf cloud, a very beautiful view of, as a meteorologist, you love, it's nice seeing these, but you know what's going on beneath these, and that is torrential rain, plentiful lightning, as well as the threat for 60-plus mile per hour winds, potentially causing tree damage and power line damage. So that's why when you're in these severe thunderstorm warnings, You got to take these seriously. You got to get inside, get away from the windows, let these thunderstorms pass by before you head on back out. So that is the story across DeKalb County now, as we watch the shelf cloud pushing into the city of DeKalb at this point. So this is the leading edge. Now, once you get the shelf cloud under you, the rain is kind of lagging behind by a few miles here. So it gets really dark, and then it gets really stormy here once this line of thunderstorms reaches you. So that's what this looks like on the ground here. So that's what we're watching out for, pushing into central DeKalb County at this point. So now just starting to cross over the DeKalb County line into Esmond, right along Route 64, and pushing through Creston. So we'll be knocking on the door of Malta here soon. And then areas like Kirkland, or areas just to the south of Kirkland, we'll have to watch out for this closely. Still watching these storms now pushing into Rock County. Again, no warnings with this, barely any lightning, but like I mentioned, we got to babysit these, and no real obvious, maybe seeing some rotation trying to get its act together here right along the the Rock Winnebago County line, I should say. Just to the north of Durand. No notes from the National Weather Service with that as of yet, but again, this is what you got to do. You just got to kind of babysit these cells as they work themselves into kind of the better environment here for severe weather in general, as well as that potential for tornadic development. So again, something to keep an eye on here over the next few minutes, but no warnings across southern Wisconsin. The only active warning that we have, and knock on wood that we can keep it that way, for southeastern Ogle, northeastern Lee, western DeKalb. It looks like the highest severe threat is pushing out of southeastern Ogle into western DeKalb County. Still right over Seward, we still got some very heavy rain, likely plenty of lightning. The worst of the lightning is over Rochelle, and actually what I'll do here is we can take a look at just how much lightning there's been over the last at least half hour, or at most half hour, I should say. More than 250 lightning strikes along this line segment from Ogle to Lee County here over the last, at the longest half hour. So terrific amounts of lightning here. So just the lightning threat alone, you should be getting inside if you're ahead of these thunderstorms here. Just get inside, let these thunderstorms pass by, and then you can kind of be on your way here over the course of the afternoon, while keeping in mind we still have that threat for severe weather later today. Why don't I put up the satellite here just so that we can kind of get a big picture kind of scope here as to kind of the larger situation, what's going on. So you can see all that lightning here, and then I'm going to have to end up making these lightning little icons smaller here because there's just so many of them. So I'll kind of slow it, or I'll just pause it here for now just to show you how we have this leading band of storms right now. Some showers trying to get going. Haven't seen any lightning with this across Greene into Stevenson counties. Watching back here to see if there's any more development. This is what we were watching out for before, for the main severe threat from as we were looking at it yesterday. But like I mentioned, this band of scattered thunderstorms just kind of pulsed up over northwestern Illinois, and it really took advantage of the environment that was getting itself set up here. So kind of took it up at earlier than what this main round of storms will be. So we'll see if there's any kind of destabilization that can get going behind this line, especially if we can get any just open, direct sunlight. That can help, kind of what we what we call recharge the battery. So kind of think about these storms like using up the battery in the atmosphere, and now it's just kind of depleted. If we can get some sunshine, if we can get some direct open sunshine, we could see that the atmospheric battery gets recharged, kind of gets plugged in, right? That's that sunshine that charges up the atmosphere again. So we'll have to watch out for that as we watch out for potential renewed thunderstorms. Now, the highest threat, again, likely to be across southern Wisconsin. The question is going to be, can we get any more storms to develop across northwestern Illinois? That will kind of be the key here as we head into this afternoon, as we watch for these thunderstorms to pass on by. No new info from the National Weather Service just yet. Let me look for if we have any severe weather reports. And what we can actually look at that here through the system here, so we can see if there have been any reports. Nothing locally. It looks like there may have been some tornado touchdowns just to the west and north of Madison. Nothing reported with that cell that was in Greene County, and we have not gotten any wind reports or damage reports out of our area yet, but it's still pretty early. These storms are just, starting to roll through. So we'll be watching out for those closely here. So again, to reset here, as we head towards the top of the hour here at 2 o'clock, we still have an active severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Ogle, northeastern Lee, and western DeKalb counties. It looks like the main severe threat is pushing into western DeKalb County at this point, pushing out of Rochelle, where you see this kind of the leading edge of that Boeing signature. That's really where you watch out for the 60-mile-per-hour winds, or potentially greater than that. Again, heartened that we haven't gotten any reports of either straight-up damaging winds themselves or from damage. So we'll cross our fingers that holds, but again, these storms just went through, and you got to get these storms out of here before you get out and assess whatever damage there was. So the leading edge of these storms now pushing through northern DeKalb County. The worst of it passing just to the north of I-88, kind of along Route 64. The northern extent kind of right now along Route 72, just to the south of Kirkland. Those will be pushing towards Kingston and Genoa here over the next few minutes. I'll put another tracker on it, and we'll kind of take it out from there, moving at about 40 miles per hour towards Kingston at about 2:10. DeKalb, similar time. Sycamore, a few minutes after, maybe closer towards 2:15. And then I would imagine Genoa here sometime around 2:15 as well. Further to the south, there's a new severe thunderstorm warning for LaSalle County. That includes areas like Mendota and Earlville, LaSalle, Peru, where these storms are on top of right now, and as far east as Ottawa. But those storms are looking likely to stay to our south, thankfully. So the strongest part of that line is right on top of LaSalle, Peru. That'll be kind of following the I-80 corridor. Meanwhile, we're watching this line of storms now pushing into DeKalb County as our strongest storms across our area at this point. Again, you see those brighter greens, across northern DeKalb County. That's where you watch out for those 60-plus mile-per-hour winds. It's pushing right across northern DeKalb County, perhaps just to the north of DeKalb at this point. And again, let's take a look at the camera in DeKalb, and you can see, yeah, that's a pretty frightening picture there that is right on top of the NIU campus at this point. Let me kind of take a different perspective here. This is from one of the other, look at that. One of the other buildings there and on the campus of NIU, and you can see, how you have this looming thunderstorm here. And when you see storms this dark, That's an indication of just how much, and especially in cases like this, that's just how much water there is in these thunderstorms. When you have this much moisture in the air, I mean, like we were just showing, dew points are in the 70s, area wide. That is a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. And what these storms kind of do, it's kind of like taking like a damp towel, right, or a wet towel. And what these storms do is they just kind of wring it out, and you get all the water that falls out. That's what these storms do, and these are very efficient rainfall producers. So we could be seeing some very heavy rainfall. And as these get into urban and low-lying, as we get into urban areas, we could be seeing some ponding on roadways, potentially some low-lying areas, seeing some minor flooding, some of those typical flood-prone areas. So that's likely something that Rochelle will be dealing with here over the next few minutes as these thunderstorms begin to depart. But so far haven't had too many reports of any flooding or anything like that. Still just kind of keeping in mind. Okay, looks like just got a report, the National Weather Service just got a report of a potential funnel cloud in the Rockton, Roscoe, Latham Park area. So those are those storms that we were keeping an eye on that are pushing into Rock County at this point. Not seeing extremely obvious rotation with these. But again, as these storms get closer to Wisconsin, that's kind of the area to watch for when these areas of rotation can develop. So we'll keep an eye on that. That there may have been a funnel cloud in the Rockton-Roscoe area, but on radar at least, nothing that's, screaming like, hey, there's rotation going on here. Nothing that I'm seeing as of this point, but again, just got to keep an eye on it. Seeing kind of a branch of the line that we've been watching move across Ogle and DeKalb counties, kind of seeing one of these kind of sprout up towards Cherry Valley into the south side of Rockford. So some pretty heavy rain now falling across the southeast side of Rockford towards Cherry Valley. That'll be pushing up towards Belvedere. Nothing severe with that activity, though. Looks to me right now just some very heavy rain. Maybe a few lightning strikes. Have seen, kind of some of these tiny little lightning bolts here, little lightning icons showing up. But right now it's pretty much right over Cherry Valley at this point. Where the heaviest of the rain is falling in Winnebago County right now is across Cherry Valley, right over where they've got that construction on Harrison and US 20 with the interchange with I-39 and 90. So, that's probably going to be a bit of a trouble spot here in terms of travel here over the next few minutes here. So some very heavy rainfall falling right over Cherry Valley at this point. That'll be pushing into Belvedere here in the next 20 to 30 minutes. And then just kind of watching this segment as it pushes into northern DeKalb County. Still seeing the bright greens. Now, it's not quite as significant or as obvious as it looked as it pushed into Rochelle, and especially when it was over like Franklin Grove and Ashton. But still, likely some pretty strong winds pushing through northern DeKalb County. So areas north of DeKalb, so places like Sycamore, Kingston along Route 72, as well as Genoa. Watch out for some strong winds, but so far we have not seen a new severe thunderstorm warning, because you can see, as I expand it out, there's the edge of the severe thunderstorm warning polygon. And you can see how the leading edge of these storms have pushed out. So haven't seen an extension of the warning, but we'll keep an eye out on it. Further south near Shabana at this point along US 30, starting to get into some heavy rain, likely some lightning. Yeah, the National Weather Service, yeah, just about pretty much confirming what we were thinking, that, yeah, this not planning on issuing a warning downstream. The warnings not planning on issuing a new warning downstream. The winds at this point starting to turn sub-severe. So that is some good news that we're seeing a kind of a weakening trend with these storms across northern DeKalb County. Not planning on issuing an extension of the warning into places like Genoa at this point. So, you know what? Let's just do a big reset here. So, at about 2:07 here, and we may be able to kind of step off here, you know, considering that warning, that DeKalb warning is kind of weakening now and may be able to be dropped altogether. So here's the big picture here. At 2:07, we're continuing to watch these cells across Rock County. And southern Wisconsin has the highest threat for seeing any kind of tornadic activity today. That's why there's that tornado watch until 6. With this leading edge, and then also with any new storms that try to develop across, you know, to the west of these storms. So this will be the area that we watch for over the next few hours as these storms kind of make their way off to the north and east. So we'll kind of see these storms pushing into the Chicago area. We get into a break, you know, not seeing any storms out here right now. And then we'll be watching out here to see if we can get any new storms to develop across northwestern Illinois. So we'll kind of keep our guard up here over the next couple of hours or so as we continue to see, you know, just kind of watch these trends to see, can those storms with the western band, whether they start to pulse up a little bit, whether they can turn severe, kind of take advantage of whatever lasting environment that there is. But so far, haven't quite seen, you know, haven't seen really any, especially any severe weather with the western thunderstorms, but nothing to indicate that there's imminent severe weather activity, but, you know, you have to give these things some time, especially if we can get some sunshine in between. And we can take a look at the satellite picture at this point. Now, the clouds that you see over, you know, kind of like right here, this is a lot of upper level cloud cover, kind of the blow off cloud cover from the thunderstorms that are, especially the ones that are rolling into DeKalb County right now. Trying to get some sunshine into, you know, areas west of Freeport, but again, you know, that's maybe few and far between, which would be good news that we're not quite able to destabilize the atmosphere, to recharge the battery here. So that could be some good news here. So with that, let's just do one more check of those DeKalb County storms. And again, we've been watching that weakening trend, and I would suspect that trend continues here over the next few minutes here. So heavy rain likely to start across the city of DeKalb right now. Sycamore starting to see some heavy rain and strong winds. Same story for Genoa. This is likely sub-severe at this point, seeing the thunderstorms on a weakening trend, and that weakening trend does continue. And then further into, yeah, there was that report of a funnel cloud over Rockton. Yeah, we saw the National Weather Service had that. But again, you know, nothing on radar that's, you know, screaming obvious like, hey, there's rotation here. Haven't quite seen that yet, but again, we got to keep an eye on these, especially as they get close to the Wisconsin state line and further into Wisconsin, and where you can see there is a tornado warning to the east of Madison North of Rock County, this is just for Dane. It potentially goes into Jefferson County, but this does not include any part of our viewing area. But just goes to show how the tornado threat seems to be kind of keeping itself across southern Wisconsin at this point. But again, with that report of a funnel cloud over Rockton, haven't seen much sustained, radar evidence of active tornado development at this point. So, that was likely just there absolutely could have been a small little funnel with these thunderstorms as they stay isolated. When you see these kind of two storms here, and they are, they're staying apart from each other, you can kind of, you could get like a little funnel cloud here on the, right in the favorable spot where you'd watch for a potential tornado, but nothing that reached the ground, at least from what we've heard, and nothing severe with that activity at this point as it pushes out of Winnebago and into Rock County at this stage. New update on that severe thunderstorm warning. So now Ogle and Lee counties, the storms have moved out. It is exclusively a DeKalb County thing, and the National Weather Service is just going to hold the warning for western DeKalb until 2:30. But again, that severe threat really coming down, and if anything, it was going to be along the leading edge of that Boeing segment that we saw, that we pretty much tracked over the last hour or so, from Dixon all the way up to Genoa as it sits right now. So, but thankfully that is on a weakening trend at this point, and I would wholeheartedly suspect that the National Weather Service just allows that severe thunderstorm warning to expire. So what we'll do now is we approach 2:15 at this point. So we'll kind of stop our severe weather coverage for right now. Of course, if there are any new warnings across the area, we will make sure to come back, whether it's with on-air coverage and or with continuing streaming coverage as we head over this afternoon. But so far, looks like the imminent severe threat is over with these thunderstorms that are now pushing into DeKalb County at this point. We've seen the weakening trend with those. But again, the biggest question is, with these little cells, as they try to keep developing, if they can, across northwestern Illinois, do we see that additional threat for maybe a few more severe thunderstorms heading into this afternoon? It's a possibility. We'll keep an eye on it. We just have to see what kind of environment has been left behind by these thunderstorms as they work their way east of I-39 at this point. So we'll kind of stop things here. But again, like I mentioned, we'll be back with any more severe weather warnings as they get issued. But for now, I'm Meteorologist John Jurgens. Make sure to stay weather aware over the course of this afternoon and evening. And of course, we'll be back with a recap of any new activity and any other severe weather information to pass along at 13 News at 4, which is in about an hour and 45 minutes. So at the very least, we'll see you then.